All right, we got the tripod.
Talk about it.
With the microphone and the camera. And we're using the telephoto lens. Okay, so we're out here. I'm filming. My current settings are 1/1600th of a second shutter speed because it's really bright. F2.8. And then I'm shooting on auto ISO because when I go into the dark shadow areas, like over there, it gets really dark. So I have it on auto. So I moved just far enough past the girls so I don't get in the shot, the substitutes, and then but I'm also not all the way on the field where I'm going to be interrupting the game. Okay. And then I'm filming on autofocus, of course. I'm using the tripod to get really smooth shots. And then I have a point here that's set to the middle of my screen. And you can do that by pressing set here. If you press set right there, it'll go to the middle of your screen. And then I track the players as they move and the camera will automatically focus to them.
So how often do you adjust the camera position?
I think for the most part, you can get most of your shots in one area. Mr. Garrett.
Explain where you get everything.
Mr. Garrett has a telephoto lens you can use for videography, along with an 80D, and hopefully next year they'll have some 90Ds to use. And
the
tripods are available in the studio, and Miss Christie might have a few. The microphones, Mr. Garrett has microphones in his room. He has big shotgun mics. Just make sure to get a charged battery and an SD card from Mr. Garrett, and make sure that whoever was using the SD card last doesn't need the footage or any of the pictures off of it, and make sure it's empty because you'll probably need it all. Okay, now that it's a little bit darker. Okay, I went down to 1/125th of a second because when you're filming video, typically you want your shutter speed to be double the frame rate because it gets better motion blur. So I'm gonna stay at 1/125th of a second because I'm shooting at 1080/60. So it gets better blur when you're moving the camera around. And then I'm not gonna go any lower. So as it gets darker, my ISO is still in auto, but it'll just keep going up on its own. The camera will do it all by itself. Last thing I want to mention is about the lens that I'm using. So I'm using an L series lens, which has fast autofocus, which is good for video. And it's not a variable aperture lens. So when it's variable aperture, as you zoom in, it gets darker. So basically this preserves the quality as you zoom in. So you want to make sure when you're filming, you get a lens that can do f2.8 or whatever, f3.5 all the way through as you zoom in, so it's not a variable. And then also, if you can use a lens that's stabilized, it's better because the shots are way more smooth and less shaky. You can find a lens like this. This is mine, but you can find a lens like this in Mr. Garrett's room. Now on to Micah for the editing portion of this video.
Hey, this is Micah, and now I'm going to show you how to actually put together the video footage that Connor took and make it into a cohesive video. So the first thing you want to do is take the card out from the camera and insert it into your computer. I'm using a MacBook, so you need to use an adapter in order for it to plug into the computer. And then once you do that, you simply drag out the content that you want into your desktop. I'm using Final Cut Pro X, which is an editing program that is built into Apple. I know that most people use Adobe Premiere because it's part of the Adobe suite and everyone probably has that already. But the tips that I'm going to share with you today will apply no matter what program you use. These are just general things you should keep in mind when you're putting together your video clips. I'll just right click here, click Import Media, find the files that I want, import selected. All the content we want should be right here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is look for a good song to fit your kind of sports montage sort of thing. You want to make sure you pick a song with good energy, with a good beat drop, and you want to make sure it's not too long so that you have enough content to fill out the entire song. And one thing to keep in mind is that it is okay to use copyrighted music, but some artists actually choose to take down your video if it is copyrighted. So make sure you check that you can post this video without it being taken down. What I use for that is a website called eproofs.com. I'll put the link up on the screen right now, but If you enter a song link from YouTube on there, they'll show you if it'll get taken down. If it just says it'll get demonetized for copyright, that's fine, because we're not making money anyways. I looked around on YouTube and Spotify, and I finally found a song that I think would fit this video well. Another Level by On the Larceny. How I got it off of YouTube was just using a website online I found. I don't remember what it's called, but there are a lot of websites like this that will basically convert any YouTube video link into a downloadable MP3 file that you can just drag into the software. So as you can see, the first thing I did in this file is put in the music. I do this because I want the entire video to flow well. I want to make sure that the frames switch on beat so that it's very satisfying at the end. And based on when the song speeds up or slows down, I can also speed up and slow down my footage to match the rhythm of the song. Next, I want to sort this drop-down menu to unused, so I only see unused video clips here. So yeah, now that we're ready to actually edit, you're free to pretty much experiment with things. What I like to do is I'll first delete all the clips that I know I don't want to use, and then once I'm left with some clips that I find will be good for the video, I'll start taking clips from them and dragging them into the timeline to match the beat of the song. I'll put this part in time-lapse because it does take some time. Alright, so now that I'm done putting together all these video clips and slowing them down and speeding them up to match the music, now it's time to make some finishing touches and add some effects. So as you can see, the only thing I've done with these clips is cut them, slow them down, and speed them up. Now is your chance to sort of experiment with different things. One thing I like to do is mark down all the times that something exciting happens. So in this case, every time there's a goal, I mark them down so I can slow them down and match it to the beat drop of the music. I also want to have sort of a cropping effect where the edges of the screen sort of move inwards to give it a cool effect. So what I'm going to do is click on this clip, go to the crop section to the right, go top and bottom, click on these two little keyframe buttons, which means you can animate certain actions, so you can pull this down and pull it up. So once I have the keyframes, I can choose maybe after the ball goes into the goal and sort of shift the top and bottom down a bit. So just 230, let's just put 230 top, 230 bottom, and boom, you can see the crop goes inwards as the ball goes in. Let's make the crop a little bit less severe so that it doesn't cut out anything actually important. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same effect to all of the goals, have that little cropping in effect. Okay, so now that we are done with that, and the next step is to add in our Wildcat Films intro. If you don't already have it saved on your computer, it should be in a Google Drive somewhere. If you don't know where it is, just text me or Connor or someone else on the video team that knows, or the teachers. But the one I'm using is called Wildcat Films Intro Outline.mov. And you want to make sure you put that in the beginning. That's standard protocol for the branding of our YouTube channel. It'll fade away. And then we can add some big text. I just like to use a basic title, Girls Lacrosse. And just choose a nice clean font that you can read against the background. Boom, something like that. Works perfectly. And I sync that to the music as well. Boom, okay, I sync that to the music. And the next step will be to add the credits at the end of the video. Sometimes if we do interviews, we would have the interviews either in between this montage or afterwards. Lately I've been doing them afterwards, but sometimes if it's a pretty short interview, it could be nice to have it just in the middle of the montage with the music quietly playing in the background. But for this video, we didn't get interviews, so we're just ending it after this montage. Filmed by Connor Blum. Edited by Micah. And Just make it small somewhere. And I'll just have that lightly fade out. Alright, so now that we're basically done with everything, the last thing we want to do is mess around with the colors to make sure that all of them look cohesive. As you can see, this first clip over here, it's a little bit too bright. The sun's sort of doing some weird things to the camera. You can see this color versus this color is very different. These are a lot cleaner. We want the colors to look like this. Some of these are also a little bit blurry. It depends on your program, but again, you can do this no matter where you are. Just figure out how to do it. If you don't know, just ask someone or Google it. So I'm going to group these clips into one so that I can edit the colors together. And for Final Cut Pro's Command 6, I'm noticing that it's a little bit too bright, so I'm bringing the global brightness down a tad bit. The shadows are a little bit too bright as well. As you can see, the blacks look sort of too gray almost. So we want to bring that down to make sure that looks right. Highlights look pretty okay, so I'm just going to leave it there. Putting the midtones down for whatever reason gives it a more cinematic feel. I always like putting the midtones down in almost every scenario. Yeah, this one definitely needs changing. So this is sort of like the one in the beginning. I'm going to decrease the global brightness a bit. Decrease the shadows a lot. Decrease the highlights maybe a tad bit. Midtones for sure. And global brightness back up. I'm noticing the colors are a little bit pinkish, so I'm gonna move the colors down towards the greens, which is the opposite of pink, just a tad bit, and then move that up to balance out the colors. That looks, yeah, a lot better. I think these are shot at pretty much the same, yeah, this is 2911 and 2911, so I should be able to just copy and paste the color settings onto this one. Shift Command V, paste the color wheel effects. Boom. There we go. Yeah, looks a lot better. So you sort of get the idea now. I'm just going to do this for all of the rest of the clips.